already on the air. I've turned our recording on. We're recording today's session so that we can make it available to people who didn't make it to the session today. So just bear that in mind while you're participating. My name's Karen Chegwidden. I'm the president of the HEA. We're really pleased to be partnering with SolarBuddy to make a really tangible difference in this world that we have. Ruth Easton is sitting here as well. You can see her. She's the HA secretary, and we've got Olivia King from SolarBuddy's education team here. Olivia is going to present for us today it's basically a class for the kids. There will be moments for interaction, and you'll be able to put your questions in the Q&A section or your answers in the Q&A section. And the other possibility is that we can make it so that you can talk. We won't see you when you talk, but we will be able to hear you. And so there's a raise your hand function somewhere. And if you raise your hand when Olivia's asking the questions, if you want to talk using real words, then I will make it so that you can. I think that's all the housekeeping stuff. So we might hand over to you, Olivia.
Hi, so I'm Olivia and I'm the Education Programs Officer for SolarBuddy. I'm going to share my screen with you now so I can show you some slides. Oops. So SolarBuddy is the organisation I work for, and it is a charity that's working to gift lights to children living in extreme energy poverty all over the world. And as part of this program, we like to work with kids in Australia to help teach them about energy poverty, solar energy, and renewable technology. So with this program, you'll be learning, making, and illuminating. First, you'll be learning about energy poverty, renewable energy, and SolarBuddy. You will then be making a small solar-powered light and writing a letter. This light and letter will be gifted to a child living in extreme energy poverty, which will illuminate their life. So, I'd like to ask these 3 questions one at a time. I think we'll try using the Q&A function for this one. Can anyone tell me what renewable energy is?
Okay, so this is the part where you guys either need to raise your hands or put it into the Q&A section. Hello. Here comes.
Hello.
Hello, we can hear you.
It's energy that can't run out.
Yeah, perfect.
You can keep reusing it. Yeah, you can keep reusing it.
Yep, we've got another one.
Okay. Go
ahead. Renewable energy is I think it's green energy. Like wind and solar.
Yep, that's correct. Some people call it green energy as well as renewable energy, and solar and wind is 2 types of renewable energy.
Got 2 more people here who have an answer to your questions, Olivia.
Mm-hmm. Is that in Q&A? Yep. Solar and wind, yep, and energy that doesn't rely on finite resources. That's correct.
Renewable energy is energy, but it can be reused, sort of like recycling.
Yep. Yeah, perfect. Thank you. And we've already had 2 examples already of types of renewable energy. Does anyone think of any more? So far, we've wind and solar.
Yeah, I can.
Yep, go ahead.
Wind, solar. Water energy. Using the water to conduct the electricity.
Yep, perfect. Anything else? Something in chat?
Let's.
Nah, I haven't got any other ideas.
Okay.
Did I get Felix? Maybe. Add that
I
maybe.
already said that. I said water because that was one of the only options.
Renewable energy is sources that can be used again and again, like they don't run out.
Yep.
And
do you have any examples that you can think of?
well, for instance, like water, wind, and solar, they're all things that, well, like especially wind, that's and solar and water, like they're renewable energy.
Yep, perfect.
Can't lightning be a source of energy?
It can be used, I think, but it's something that would be very difficult to harness because you'd have to wait for a storm and you don't know if the storm's going to have lightning or where it might.
Yep, like
Yeah.
this one guy I saw, he basically attached a key to his kite and that created electricity.
Yes. Yeah, so I think it can be used. It's just, it would be very unreliable.
Yeah, you can't just use it every day.
And so we'll go to the last question. Can anyone tell me some positives and negatives of using renewable energy as opposed to non-renewable energy?
Non-renewable energy would be like energy that you can't, it's the opposite of renewable energy. Like it's a man-made, like people have to put energy into, like, to make the power.
Yep.
Like a nuclear power station. Like people have to come in there and service it. They have to, you know, like do what they need to do for it.
Thanks, Felix.
Does anyone else have anything? So you can think about why renewable energy is good, like why are we moving towards using renewable energy now instead of non-renewable?
We're moving to renewable energy because it is less harsh on climate change, and we are also using it because they are all suitable resources to use that won't add to climate change.
And it's also a lot less expensive to make.
Yep.
So another positive about renewable energy is that it isn't as hard to make. People have to continuously service it. It's expensive, and it's basically going to get humanity kicked out of the window if we don't stop using unrenewable energy pretty soon.
Yep.
Spa.
One positive of renewable energy is that it can be used. Yep, just came in from the Nollings. Yes, it can be used over and over again, which is really, really good. It won't be depleted. It's an almost unlimited resource for us to use. One negative is that, sorry, we have one from Thomas. Yep, perfect. So from Thomas, non-renewable energy is non-renewable. Once it's used up, it's gone forever and damages the environment. Perfect. So a negative of renewable energy is that it can be expensive and it can actually be slightly harmful for the environment to initially set up all of the machinery required to capture the energy. And it can also be less reliable depending on the type of energy that you're using and where you are located in the world. But overall, it is a better form of energy for the environment. So I've had some great positives of renewable energy. One negative of renewable energy that we're trying to improve and fix is that it can be less reliable. So you can have difficulty with capturing the sun. If it's a cloudy day, you won't get quite as much power. You won't get power through the night and things like that, which we're getting better with storage of electricity, so we can collect during the day or when it's windy or when there's a lot of power and store it to be used. And renewable energy can be expensive in making the machinery needed to capture it. So long term, it'll be a lot cheaper, but it's the initial startup that can be expensive. So just trying to change slides. Perfect. So I think we've covered all of this already. Renewable energy is a type of energy that can be replenished, whether it's immediately or within a few days or a person's lifetime. It won't be used up and it's gone, it'll come back again. And I'd like to show you a short video which goes over renewable energy a little bit more.
Renewable energy. Renewable energy is a term used to describe a group of energy technologies derived from sources that do not deplete or that can be replenished within a human's lifetime. The most common renewable energy sources are solar, which harnesses the sun for energy, wind, which utilizes the motion of wind to create electricity, hydropower, which uses moving water to generate power, biomass, which refers to a large group of technologies that use living or recently living organisms and waste to create energy. Tidal. Tidal uses the rise and fall of the tides to create electricity. Geothermal, which uses the internal heat from the earth for energy. Nuclear energy is not considered a renewable energy source. It is considered an alternative energy source. While renewable energy accounts for a minority share of the world's energy supply, it is also the fastest growing energy supply on the planet. Renewable energy is sought after because it is a clean source of energy, meaning that it does not directly produce greenhouse gas emissions or air pollutants. While renewable energy sources are better for the environment, they also face several challenges, the main ones being low efficiencies, high capital costs, and intermittency. That's renewable energy.
Okay, go back here. Okay, so we went over a couple of different types of renewable energy, including solar, geothermal, hydro, wind, and ocean energy. Now, I'd like you all to have a think and pick one or two of these types of energy and think of a place where they could be best used. This could be a type of place or it can be a specific country. So if you could put that in the Q&A chat or raise your hand and talk that way.
I think wind energy would actually be useful in the countryside.
Yep.
What makes you think?
Because when there's so many like things blocking the wind in like cities, it wouldn't be able to flow into like the turbines.
That's right. They do need a continuous stream of air for good generation, don't they?
Yep.
That's a good point.
Perfect.
And what about ocean energy? You think you should do that at Uluru, where there's no ocean?
You should do it where there's like in the middle of the ocean where no one will destroy like no one will like throw rocks at it. Like it has to be in like the middle of the ocean.
Oh.
So like no one, like a little kid could mess with it.
Well, generally, it's not a good idea to let any sort of vandalism happen with any sort of power source. That's my idea. I don't know. What's your ideas, Olivia?
Yeah, so ocean energy, it's also called wave energy. So generally it's somewhere where there's high wave power, which somewhere like Chile has very intense wave power, or somewhere with a lot of coastline. So Australia would be great for wave or ocean energy because we have a lot of moving water and a lot of coastline that we could do it.
You have a few answers in the Q&A as well.
Yep, so solar energy in Australia, because we have lots of sun, that's from from Harper. Yep, that's right. Australia is fantastic for solar energy. Ocean energy from Vivian near the coast, and solar energy in the desert. Yep.
Yes.
Yep, potentially. I'm not hugely aware of Miami, but potentially, yep. So haven't had anything for geothermal power. Can anyone think of a type of place or a specific country where we could use geothermal?
I think geothermal power would be really good in countries around the equator because it's very hot there, and it's a never-ending resource, which even if it's not a sunny day, the earth is still emitting heat, which would make sure that it's always getting power.
So geothermal power comes from heat under the earth. So you can come from volcanoes or underground hot springs or geysers. And Iceland actually has a lot of underground hot springs and geysers, so they can actually use geothermal power a lot, and they do. So hydropower comes from fast moving water. So generally it's used on rivers that are narrow and fast moving and on very steep ground. So somewhere like China has a lot of really steep, fast moving rivers, and they can use hydropower. Geothermal in Hawaii, yep, perfect. Wind energy, yep, somewhere that it's very windy and there's open space. So in Australia, we have a lot of open space, but we could use wind energy. The UK is also quite a windy country, so it can be used in the UK as well. And yep, wave energy can be used like Australia or Chile or somewhere with high wave power and coastline that it can be harnessed in.
Here comes Jasper again.
Yep.
And we've got a couple of answers in the chat as well.
I think solar energy is good for really hot places like Greece and Egypt and places like that. There's so much sun there, and it barely never rains.
Yeah, great. So we also have in the chat, solar is good in Australia, and mentioned the desert. So Australia is a very sunny country. We also have a lot of open space that is underutilized at the moment. We could put solar panels up in the desert and collect lots and lots of power. Chat, wind would be good on the coast. Yes, so coastlines tend to be quite windy, so wind turbines would be well suited there. Also a country that's quite windy is somewhere like the UK. So again, that would be a good place for wind energy.
And we've got one more person with an answer for you, Olivia.
It really depends on which location you're in for which renewable energy source.
Yep, definitely.
Like near the ocean, you have ocean energy, and near the desert, that solar. Or near volcanoes, you have geothermal and power, and then windy areas, you have wind energy.
Yep, perfect. So it's very important that every country looks at what their own natural resources are like. Not everyone could use solar power or geothermal power as well as another country. So you need to look at what we have. So hydropower, which comes from fast moving streams, is very good for somewhere like China, who actually has a lot of very steep streams and rivers with high water energy. And similarly, for wave energy, you need high wave power. So somewhere with a large coastline like Australia, or somewhere like Chile, which has really intense wave power. So how does solar energy work? So solar energy is very important to us because it's the type of renewable energy that we have utilized to make these little solar powered lights that we gift to children. So solar energy comes from the sun. Sunlight streams millions of tiny bits of energy, which are called photons. When these sun rays full of photons hit the semiconducting material that's in a solar panel, the solar panel absorbs the energy in the photons. And this energy can be used to charge a battery and to generate light or other forms of electricity. Okay, so I want you all to have a think about what poverty is and give me just a short definition of what you think poverty is.
Is poverty like when somebody has nothing of something, or they're in need of something?
That's exactly right. So if you live in poverty, you don't have enough money to buy your vital resources like food, shelter, clothing, water, access to medicine, to education. You just can't access anything that you need to live and to have a good life. And following on from this, can anyone define for me what extreme energy poverty is, or what energy poverty is?
An extreme lack of electricity and other energy resources.
Yeah, perfect. So energy poverty is when you have little or no access to electricity or unreliable access. So this means that at night time, you aren't able to just switch on a light. You're not able to work on a computer like you guys are now. Don't have internet access. You can't play games or cook, anything like that. And across the world, there's actually almost 800 million people that live in extreme energy poverty. And this is the equivalent of 1 in 10 people. Many of these people, because they don't have electricity, have to rely on unreliable, unsafe fuel sources like kerosene or biomass fuels. So these types of fuels can have a really negative impact on people. Okay. So I'd like you all to take a moment to imagine what your life would be like if you didn't have access to any electricity. So if you could think about all the things that you like to do in your own lives that require electricity. This includes just turning on a light switch at night so you don't have to sit in the dark. It would change the activities you do. You wouldn't be able to play video games, watch TV, go on the computer. It would also change the food you eat. You wouldn't be able to refrigerate food to keep it, and you wouldn't be able to cook the food in the same way.
It would be like totally different. It would be really crazy.
I think Anna wants to say something too.
Go speak.
I think it would really be hard to have fun with things that include electricity and stuff.
Yes. So energy poverty devastates lives in 4 key ways, what we call the 4 pillars of impact: health, education, environment, and economy. Because people are using unsafe fuel sources like kerosene or biomass fuels, they're polluting the air that they're breathing in, which can cause respiratory diseases and can cause a lot of sickness and death. Education. With no light, children don't have the opportunity to study after dark. This means that they can fall behind in their studies and are unable to finish school, which limits their job opportunities after school. Environment. Kerosene lanterns produce 190 million tonnes of carbon dioxide annually. This is the equivalent of 38 million cars on the road in a year. And economy. Families are spending up to 40% of their income on fuel for lighting. Many of these families are already living in poverty, so it means even less money to be used for other essentials like food, water, and shelter. So how does SolarBuddy help? As I mentioned earlier, we are dedicated to illuminating the futures of all children. We have 2 goals that we are trying to achieve by the year 2030. We are wanting to gift 6 million solar lights to children living in extreme energy poverty. And we also want to educate 6 million people globally about extreme energy poverty. And all of you today will be helping us reach both of these goals. The lights that you will be making will be gifted to children living in extreme energy poverty overseas. And you will also be part of the 6 million people globally that are being educated about extreme energy poverty. So these are the lights that you will all be assembling and that will be gifted to children living in energy poverty. They have been designed with a specific purpose. They're easy to assemble, use, and charge, and have been intentionally humanized. You'll be able to see in the photo that there's 2 eyes at the top, there's arms, 1 on each side, and feet at the bottom. So we've added these features to make it more accessible to children who are unfamiliar with renewable technology or unfamiliar with technology in general. For them, this can be their buddy that they take around with them everywhere. There is also 4 holes that go right through the light, 1 in each corner. This is so children are able to hang the light around their necks with the light facing out so that they're able to move around and carry things in their hands while still having light. They can also hang it backwards on their back or backpack so that with the solar panel facing out, so that the light can be charged as they walk or ride to and from school. Another important feature is in the solar panel on the back. There is a sensor in that solar panel, which means that the light won't turn on when there's light hitting it. Can anyone tell me why this is such an important feature?
It's because it means that it won't be wasting like energy when like the lights wouldn't normally be in use, if it's not going to be wasting unnecessary energy on shining when there's already light around that could be used.
Yep.
The reason why is because you don't want to waste the battery when it's charging. Otherwise, it might overheat or something. So, like, you just if a kid turns it on in the morning and the solar panel's facing on his chest, it will waste the light, and when he comes back in for the night, the light won't work because it's all used up.
Yep, that's exactly right. So it's hard to see the light shining when it's a really sunny day. So children might potentially leave the light on all day, go to turn it on at night, and the battery is all run out, so not able to use it at night. So with these lights that we've been gifting to children, we've seen an incredible impact across the 4 pillars of impact: health, education, environment, and economy. Children and their families are using these little solar-powered lights instead of unsafe fuel sources like kerosene, meaning there is improvement in air quality, and children and their families are feeling healthier and are living longer. Children are also able to study up to 78% more, meaning they're doing better in school and they're enjoying school more because they know what they're doing, they know about the subjects they're learning about. Environment. Because these lights are being used instead of other fuel sources, there is a reduction in carbon dioxide emission. And economy. Families are saving up to 80% of the money they would normally spend on fuel for lighting, meaning that they have more money to use for other essentials. So I'd now like to show you a quick video, which is about one of the distributions we've made to children living in energy poverty. So these children live in Cambodia in a floating village. And the lights that you guys will be making will go to a community similar to this one. So Cambodia is just one of the many countries that we gift lights to. We've worked with more than 450 schools and 130 corporations across the world. And with the help of these schools and corporates, we've donated 25,000 lights to children all over the world, impacting 625,000 lives. We gift lights to 7 key countries that we've found have high levels of energy poverty. These countries are the Dominican Republic, Tanzania, India, Cambodia, Timor-Leste, Papua New Guinea, and Vanuatu. The lights that you'll be assembling will go to one of these 7 key countries. So has anyone here heard of the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals?
It's your goals are to reduce. So the goals for the SolarBuddies is for good health and well-being, allowing students to have more studying time and reducing climate change and making lives more easier to live in and affordable.
So those are 5 of the 17 goals that SolarBuddy is most aligned with. Does anyone know what the Sustainable Development Goals are in general? So in 2015, 193 world leaders came together to agree to these 17 goals. These are the world's blueprint for achieving peace and prosperity for all people. and they're a universal call to action for all countries in the world to end all forms of poverty, fight inequalities, and tackle climate change. And we need to achieve these goals by the year 2030. So we've aligned all of our programs with the Sustainable Development Goals, but we're most closely aligned with 5 of the goals, which you can see up on the screen. And I see there's a chat. Yep, so they were created by the United Nations. Education and climate change, yep. I'm now going to show you all another video which has a bit of an explanation about why the Sustainable Development Goals were formed and what they are.
Imagine you're traveling in space. You're looking for intelligent life. You've been traveling for a while because space is very, well, spacious. And then you see it. Earth. A tiny island in space. A little speck of water, rock and soil, with a thin veil of air that we can breathe. There might be life out there in space, but here on Earth, it's everywhere. If you think about it, we all need the same basic things. Fresh water, clean air, and healthy food. The good news is that Earth has enough of those for all of us. The bad news is that we've got a few problems in the way. The first is climate change. The way we're living on Earth now is damaging the very things we need to live. The fuels we burn are choking the atmosphere. We're running out of clean drinking water. And all of this is changing the weather. The second problem is inequality. Some people on Earth have far more than they need, and most people don't have nearly enough. This can lead to poverty, and that's not fair. Millions of people are unable to get medicine that can stop them from getting sick, or cure them if they do. In some places, children complain about having to go to school. In others, millions of children can't go to school at all. Is that fair? Luckily, we have a plan. The United Nations just announced the Global Goals for Sustainable Development. These are 17 goals to protect the planet against climate change and make the world safer, fairer, and more just for everyone. We have to achieve these goals by 2030. The great thing about having a plan is that we can check how we're doing along the way. Give ourselves a pat on the back if we do well, and try harder if not. 2030 isn't so long away, so we'll need to encourage each other with lots of ideas. We can start by making these goals famous. There are 17 goals altogether, so lots of different ways in which you can help. What if being a girl or a boy makes no difference to how safe you feel, the friends you have, or the places you could go? What if we found new ways to make water clean and drinkable? What if we could recycle all of our waste? What else do you think we could do? We all live on Earth, and we depend on the Earth to live. We have many different cultures. We only have one planet. If we take care of it and each other and share what we produce fairly and sustainably, everything we need is right here. Someday we may find intelligent life on other planets. In the meantime, let's see how intelligent we can make it down here for all of us, at home, on Earth.
As you can see from the video, these are very important goals for us to look after our planet and all of the people within it. And all of you today and everyone taking part in this program is helping to achieve these global goals and become a part of a global community of change makers. So now that's about the end of what I have prepared. And I was wondering if anyone has any questions about anything we've talked about today or anything about SolarBuddy.
So the reason why we just don't have a SolarBuddy yet.
What's your question?
We don't have a SolarBuddy yet. So when will that arrive?
I think that might be a question for Karen, maybe. So they've been delivered to a couple of key points around Australia and they just need to be distributed a little bit further to get to you. I'm not sure where we are at with that.
Yeah, any day now. Most of the people who are receiving the deliveries have actually got their buckets. So the person in your community who is a local organiser has started handing them out to people. In most of the places, there's some people who live in really far away places. Someone in the middle of Australia, someone on an island down below Victoria, between Victoria and Tasmania. So some of those people are getting their lights posted out in the mail, and so they will probably come in the next week.
Yeah. And I have a question from Vivian. Aren't solar panels made with non-renewable resources? So yes, a lot of renewable technology is made with non-renewable resources. For the most part, as long as it's made well and it does last, then the impact it has on the environment is still a lot less than if we used electricity. So we're constantly, as a planet, working towards making everything as renewable as possible. But yes, many of the renewable products, to capture that energy, we have to use non-renewable resources.
We've got a question in the chat as well, Olivia. From Tess, what are the 7 countries that SolarBuddy is helping, please? I want to write it down. Thank you for
I can get that map back up. So I think it's the Dominican Republic. Yep, here we go. Dominican Republic, Tanzania, India, Cambodia, Timor-Leste, PNG, and Vanuatu. I'll just leave that map up for you if you'd like to write those down. So how reliable is renewable energy? So the reliability really depends on the technology that the product is made with and also where it's located. So you have to make sure that you're in an area that has the resource that you're trying to harness. So you wouldn't put solar panels in somewhere where it's not sunny very often. It wouldn't work as well. I don't have a figure or anything for how reliable it is. It is less reliable than non-renewable resources, but with better technology, they're getting more and more reliable every day. I hope that sort of answers your question. I don't have any sort of definitive answer, I'm afraid. Were there any other questions?
Got a hand raised there.
So basically, if you use renewable resources to make these things, you will get a renewable item.
Ideally, everything that we use would be renewable, but we don't have the technology for that. I don't know that it would ever be possible to do that just because of the nature of the products that we make and what we use. So I have a question from Thomas. What do you write in the letter? So in the letter, you'll be writing directly to the child that's receiving the light that you assemble. So we ask that you write your name on the letter, and there's a small space for you to write your name, and there's space for organisation. You can leave that blank or write your school, or just write that you're from Australia, and just write about yourself, things that you like to do, like if you like to play soccer or you like to read, favorite subject to learn about, and write what you would like them to use their light for or what you hope they get out of it. So you could say that you hope they're able to use the light to read at night or use the light to walk around safely at night, and that it will help them with their learning and safety. It's really up to you. It just something positive, something that they'd be happy to read about and make them feel good. Is there anything else? How will we know who we are writing to? So we don't know who exactly we're writing to. We donate lights in groups of 1,000 just so we're able to donate a significant amount and go to a community and give one to every single child. So we don't know any names of the children, and the countries, it just depends on, we have in-country partners. So every country that we work in, we have another charity that works with us that will identify the communities that need the lights and will distribute them for us. So after the lights have been distributed, we'll provide some photos and stories about the distribution back to you. So I can send that through to Karen once we have them, which will be in about 3 or 4 months, but we don't have any names of children and we don't know them beforehand and usually don't know them afterwards either. So how long will the SolarBuddies last for? So these lights last for 10 years, and we have a battery replacement program. So the outside of the light, which is not showing up here, all of that lasts for 10 to 12 years. The batteries inside will only last about 4 years. So as part of the program, we have replacement batteries that go to the country with the light. And once the batteries need to be replaced, our in-country partners will work with the children that have received the lights and help them to take the lights apart and replace the batteries. Can the kids read English? Some of them can, most can't. So when the letters are sent over, the charity partners that we work with, the in-country partners, they will help the children read the letters. Some places, as part of a program at school, they will help the children translate the letters into their local language. Are the batteries replaceable items or recyclable? So we have a battery recycling program, so they will be fully recycled. Anything else? I might just quickly show you the light kit that you'll be receiving. So once lights are sent out, each of you will receive the light that looks like this, and rubber banded to the back are a set of instructions for how to put the lights together. And you need, sorry, background's getting rid of it, but you have a set of instructions rubber banded to the back of the light, and you need to follow each of the instructions in order so that it's put together properly. So the lights need to be waterproofed so that if they get damp or someone drops them in water, they can still work. So we have different waterproofing parts in it, so it's very important that we put it together properly. After the light's been assembled, we will collect them back to our SolarBuddy HQ, which is in Brisbane, and we quality control every single light to make sure it's perfect. The letter I was talking about, so you receive a letter template like this, and on the back of the letters, which you can look at when you receive them because it's not showing up. So for the children that receive the lights, it has a guide for how to use the lights. So the battery takes 8 hours to charge. So for them to fully charge their light, they need to put it in the sun for 8 hours. So for every hour that it gets charged, you get an hour of light. But we also have a half setting. So if you charge the light for 8 hours, you'll get 8 hours of light at full power or 16 hours of light at half power. I think that's... Yeah. Any, something Q&A. So I have something from Tess. Thank you. My daughter said she thinks the children will feel much better with these lights. Thank you very much. It was very informative. Thank you, Tess, and thank you to your daughter. Anything else?
Maybe this time we're really there.
Yep.
Olivia, thank you so much. Such a great presentation, such a great program. I'm really excited that here at the HCA we've been able to work with you guys and to make it so that there are 300 home educated students out there who are going to build these kits over the next couple of weeks and get them off to kids in countries with energy poverty. It's such an amazing thing to be able to be part of. So thank you very much for your time and for helping us to achieve our goal. I think we've got a couple of things that have just come into the chat. Can we opt in to make extras? So we are hoping that we will be able to run a SolarBuddy program again for home educated students later in the year. Because this is the first time that this has been available to home educated students and the logistics have been a little bit challenging, we can't order any more at this moment, but we will take a list of people who are keen to do it again later and who want to make more.
And some thank yous from the Nollings, Steph and Vivian. Thank you, everyone. And I'm really excited to have you guys on board. As Karen said, we've never worked with any homeschoolers or unschoolers before. We've only ever worked directly with schools. And this was something that I really pushed for, because for me, I just want everyone to have equitable access to education, whether it's in Australia or overseas. So being able to work with the HEA is really important to me and really important to SolarBuddy. So thank you all for having me here.
Right, thank you so much, Olivia. I'm going to close the meeting down and we'll make this recording available for our members, for the people who couldn't get here today. And we've got another workshop coming up on the 17th. So if you are a person who's making a SolarBuddy kit and there are people in your community who are doing it too and they missed out today, they get another chance to come and hear Olivia's talk on the 17th. Thanks, everybody.
Fantastic. Thank you. Bye.